Hello, my name is Kaylin Gustafson, and I am going to go over simulation training. So, to start off, what is simulation training? Simulation training, in layman's terms, is basically just copying everything that you do at your competitions and just copy them in practice. And for me personally, I feel like this is a fairly new topic. I'll go into more detail later, but I have never heard of simulation training until I read over this chapter. But basically what you would do is wear the same uniforms that you compete in. So a lot of people, a lot of sports, you have your uniform that you only wear when you compete in, and they recommend maybe wearing that a few times at practice. Maybe it's a hard practice, we're at the hard practice, that way you can race well on the track or whatever sport it might be. Another example, which can happen quite often in track and field specifically, is the weather. When you are running outside, you could be running in the cold, in the wind, in the rain, in the snow, in the ice. As long as there's no thundering and lightning, we'll be outside. But and this brings me to people, if you compete in collegiate sports, you travel. So if a team from Alabama comes and competes at Indiana State University, and the weather is freezing cold, windy, and rainy. I'm not saying Alabama always has perfect weather, but they're a little bit warmer in that area during the colder months compared to Indianapolis or anywhere in Indiana. And anyways, with the simulation training, the athletes who are used to this weather, like us from Indiana, are able to better prepare ourselves because we're used to it. We've ran in those conditions before. Our coach makes us run against the wind so we can get used to it. And when it's cold, you bundle up. And we're used to that, and they're not. And it's almost like we have a one-up on them because we're mentally stronger than they are in that aspect because we are used to it. When I was thinking about this, I had a perfect example that immediately came to mind. A personal story of my own. I did competitive tumbling, which is like gymnastics, so we wear the fancy leotards that have glitter and sparkles, and they're all fancy, and with that, I was not used to wearing that. Long sleeve, no spandex shorts to wear over them, you weren't allowed to. And at the competitions, I felt uncomfortable. I was not used to having the sleeves on and not having shorts, being more exposed. And that got to me mentally because I did not feel fully comfortable because I was not used to practicing in gear such as that. My last example would be at a diving meet or competition. And this has also happened to me before. I competed at an away meet. It was a board that I was not used to. It was older, so it was a lot bouncier, and the tread was a lot thinner, so it felt very slippery. And I got into my head. I was nervous. I thought I was gonna slip, and I ended up not performing well because the home team had their advantage. They were able to practice with these conditions, having the slippery board, having it being older and more bendy. They're used to that, and the board that I practice on was very, very new. It was very rough. I felt secure, and it got to my head, and I ended up not performing well because I was not used to that. To begin implementing this sort of simulation training, for the tumbling example that I gave, practice in long-sleeved leotards, practice with your competition leotard on, so you get used to how that feels. If it's a very loud environment, or if you're used to a very quiet environment and you go to somewhere with a loud environment, when you're at practice, make sure there's like very much noise going on so you can focus in. And it will take time. It won't just come to you, but that's just something that you can do to take the next step. Another thing that you could do to implement the simulation training into your daily routine is warm up the same way. Do the exact same stretches and exercises in a row when you're warming up. So for example, if at practice every Monday through Friday you start with jogging 2 laps, then start at your competition jogging 2 laps. It will just get your body into the routine. Humans are just naturally creatures of habit, and that will help us to perform better.